So let's do the searchlights next. And there's quite a number of parts. The instructions aren't very clear because they've got the white resin and it's hard to make out where things are actually specifically sitting and how they fit together. So we'll start work on the pedestals first. So you've got the brass turned pedestal here, and you've got a plate, and then you've got another plate here. And hopefully you can see there's little lugs with fold lines, and these are supposed to represent wheels because this will run along the track. So we'll bend these up first. Okay, so hopefully you can see they've been turned down. So they should fit in the track. And that sits on there and then sits on the pedestal. Just to hold the pedestal in place, I've just put in some 2mm holes into MDF to hold it. Okay, we're now ready for soldering. So when we put this bottom plate on, make sure the wheels are sticking in the right direction and in the correct orientation. So it's the same it's the same length as the other plate. It's narrower on one side, so make sure you get it lined up. Okay. Okay. So the top of the pedestal has two parts. We've got this plate, and hopefully you can see there's an arrow there, or a prong, that points forward. We then have the arms that hold the body. Now there is etch marks on there, so we need to bend them. So I'm using the bending pliers so I can grip both of the prongs so they don't move. And then we bend this up 90 degrees. So for placement of the plate, you need to line them up on the long edge, which is right angles to the wheels. Okay, so the prong here needs to point that way, which is 90 degrees to the wheels. And then this support needs to have the semicircle at the front there. So I might solder these two together and then just super glue it onto the pedestal, because it's going to be hard to try and hold three parts without putting too much heat into everything, taking too long to do it. So I think we can align this up pretty well. So let's try soldering these two together first. Okay, so I'll just apply some flux. What I think I'll do is I'll grip it and then heat it. I can just square them up a bit now. Okay. Oh, sorry, just let me check the other side. Okay, I wondered why it wasn't sitting flat. We just got a tiny bit of solder we need to remove. Yeah, it's sitting a lot better now. So using super glue thin, I'll just lock the top to the bottom. Okay. So that's the pedestals all finished now. So we'll move on to the searchlight body itself. And the first thing we'll do is solder on this hand wheel onto here. Now the hand wheel itself's got a little handle we need to bend, but we'll do that after we solder it. Okay, so just looking at the instructions, and the hand wheel actually sits right at the end there. So I don't know how much of this you can see, I'll just... It's the tiniest prong sticking up there. Okay. And we'll just bend the handle up. Okay. So I've got 6 of these to do. I need to clean up a bit there. Right, that's that done. I'll finish these. Okay, so that's all that spigots and hand wheels soldered up. For the resin searchlight bodies, I've separated them all from each other and gave them a wash in warm soapy water just to get rid of any mold release. So the first thing we'll look at is the searchlight lenses themselves. So these are clear plastic. If you notice, you've got a flat bottom and then the curved lens. You've also got a flat surface around the perimeter. So what I've done, I went around each body and just made sure the lens is going to drop in, because we want it, if you can see that's at an angle, we want it to drop in flat. So what I'll do is just go around, just clean up the edge there, just with a knife. Just opening the hole fractionally. We want it to be able to sit almost in position so we can then press it home. Okay, so it's looking pretty good there. And then what we can do is we can just squeeze it down. I don't want to do that yet because I won't get it back out. I've left them attached to the blocks here. So there's actually no mark to cut them on. So what I'll do is I'll just put a bit of tape. And that just gives me a line to cut to. Because like I say, there's no mark on the moulding, just how far to go. So I think this is 0.9mm strip of tape. Before I cut them off, I'll do a fair bit of assembly while it's still attached to the block, and then I can cut it off. So with all these openings cleaned up, ready for the lenses, I'm going to just paint it inside of there. And for that, I'll use Tamiya's XF16 flat aluminium. It's not a very great paint actually. The particle sizes are very large, but it won't matter in here because we're covering it with the lens. You can almost see the large flakes. Okay. So this is where I think the instructions are unclear for me. On the body, there's a little peg there, you can see. And we've got a couple of full edge brackets to put on each side, centered on that peg. Now, from what I can tell, on the arms, the brackets sit in the little notch. I believe. We need to glue these on here. But still have the bottom away from the body so they can hook onto the slot. That's how I understand it. I've got a couple of options. Glue them on here first, and we've got one each side, or solder them onto the arms and then drop the body in between. The instructions show glue them here first, so I think I'll try that. Okay, so we'll attach this bracket onto the body now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some CA gel. Just try and line it up onto that peg. Okay, so hopefully you can see sticking it out at an angle. I hope it's enough to catch onto the slot on the arms of the support. So we'll put the one on the other side now. So while we're here, we'll put the rings on the back. You probably can't see because of the whiteness, but there's actually a lip all the way around. And that's for this ring. And you can see there's two handles on it. So we'll just put tiny dabs of gel in a few locations. Keeping the handles horizontal. Just slip that over. So the next thing we'll do is I think we can put the lenses into position now. So making sure we've got the flat side. We'll try and line it up. It's flat and square. And we'll just squeeze it down a bit. That's looking not too bad there. Maybe a wee bit in too far on this side. I think these are glass. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Now you could use some crystal clear just to grip it, but it's very secure now. What I'm going to do is just cover that with a 3mm disc. Just square it up. And then we've got another ring to put on. This one's slightly different shape. There is a flat section there, and that goes to the other side. And then hopefully it should just drop over. So again, I'll use some super glue gel just in a couple of locations. So, I think we're ready to cut this off now, and then we'll see how it lines up with the pedestal. So I'm going to use the razor blade saw. Gives a nice clean flat cut. The resin's very easy to saw through. That looks very good there. Okay, that looks okay. Now, the moment of truth. That seems to have worked. Okay, and then we'll just lock it in place with some CA thin. Okay, so we'll let that go off. Okay, so the last thing to do is put in a couple of hand wheels in it here. I replace the masking tape with some Ammo liquid mask. It was just a bit easier. The tape, the 3mm diameter tape just wasn't quite wide enough. So we've got this first hand wheel here. That's the one we soldered up earlier. It goes onto here. I'm just going to use some super glue gel. And then we've got this last hand wheel here, which will just match over the hole that's there. Again, I'll just use super glue gel. Far too much. So that's these ready for paint. I've got to say, I'm not a fan of the design that Pontos have used for these. I'm sure it could be better, to be honest. See how they come up in paint, but I'm not quite happy with how they've went together. But okay, so let's get them into prime first. So we're primed and painted now. So the last thing to do is take off the masking on the lens. Now we'll have to hold it by the body because the connection between the pedestal and the body is very weak. Okay, that came off easily enough. It's doing pretty good. Could be better, but I don't know.